The Johannesburg Stock Exchange is Africa's largest bourse. On the sidelines of the BRICS Summit, the bourse unpacked the role of capital markets play in driving economics. This is economic growth, particularly in the BRICS bloc of countries and other emerging markets, particularly on the continent. Business reporter is attending that particular summit for us, Ntokozo Khumalo, who joins us now. Ntokozo, good morning to you. So, channeling investments to suitable projects remains a challenge. What are industry players saying is the solution to allowing that much needed financing to flow?
Good morning, Koli. Well, the JSE as well as the Egyptian Stock Exchange this morning talking about the role that capital markets play, and as someone who's been covering SMEs and the township economy quite extensively, exciting news out for that sector with the JSE, Egyptian Stock Exchange, as well as the New Development Bank talking about channeling capital to the private markets, and SMEs of course being part of that, as well as the township economies as accelerants for growth. And for a little bit more detail now, I do have with me Langa Mangenle, who is the head of equities and equity derivatives at the JSE. Thank you for talking to us. A significant announcement by the JSE as well as the New Development Bank in terms of channeling those capital flows towards the private markets and SMEs. Talk us through how we got to that decision, especially in context of the BRICS Summit that has certainly highlighted the roles that SMEs play in growing economies.
Thank you very much, Ananto. Let me jump straight to it. So the BRICS Summit is happening here in South Africa, and as you know, BRICS now represent about 58% of the global GDP, which is quite a very formidable share of the global economy. So here at the JSE, and in support of the BRICS conversation currently going on in the country, we zoom in capital formation. A conversation that has been highlighted this morning is that there is a very urgent need to channel capital not only to the large enterprises, but in particular to the small, medium-sized enterprises, as well as startups where risk capital is needed. Our view as the Johannesburg Stock Exchange is that we serve capital formation in Africa as well as abroad. The example of that we've given this morning is that we have set up, for the past year now, we've been running a JSE private placement platform. That platform focuses exclusively on unlisted companies in any sector that are looking to be matched with institutional investors. Today, as I speak to you, I'm happy to say to your viewers that we have 35 deals on that platform, of which 30 of them are active, and the other 5 we are still developing them. They cover transportation, renewable energy, all payments in industries. Really, it's open for people, entrepreneurs, to come forward and work with the JSE in finding investors. Yeah.
Now, obviously, one of the things that was talked about was increasing that risk appetite to also invest in the feasibility studies and so on before the business is really up and running. But there is sort of a meet us halfway approach to this, with entrepreneurs needing to really state their business case. How do entrepreneurs and SMEs really prepare themselves to be able to access this capital, because they also have a role to play in ensuring that they do access the capital?
Absolutely. What the investors are telling us as the stock exchange, and what was echoed today by the New Development Bank, is the need for bankable projects, is the need for commercially viable ideas to be put on the table. But it is easier said than done. Of course, the challenge for entrepreneurs is that process between an idea and commercialization has a lot of risk in itself. One of the things in which we are bridging the gap from the Johannesburg Stock Exchange point of view has been to set up a new area of SME development headed by our lady here called Cleola. She champions that market. We just recently signed an agreement with the government of the Western Cape to scale that initiative. Really, the idea there is to help entrepreneurs polish their ideas, be investor ready, so that by the time they sit, either before they come to the Johannesburg Stock Exchange or they approach private investors in the form of venture capital, they at least have the tools. They can present the deal tickets that are appealing to the investors. So it takes a lot of collaboration. It's a challenge that is going to require the JSE to work in collaboration with other stakeholders. The collaboration with the Western Cape government I'm talking about is just a first step in that, and we are looking to scale that and partner with others in the marketplace.
And now this BRICS Summit, we are certainly drawing parallels between the importance and relevance of BRICS to also fast track the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And obviously with Egypt being on board and one of the countries to join the new development bank, talk us through then JSE's role as the biggest bourse on the continent. So also having to facilitate these transactions across the continent and facilitate businesses from South Africa going to the rest of the continent, African businesses coming to South Africa as well.
Absolutely. Three things I would like to mention there is that the Johannesburg Stock Exchange has a memorandum of understanding with the BRICS Stock Exchanges from Russia, Brazil, China. So the partnership there, as well as that commitment that has been made via that MOU, is around capital markets development. And our role as the largest bourse in Africa really is to make sure that what we have in terms of capability, in terms of learnings, we are able to share that with the exchanges. And we do that regularly without asking for any payment as the Johannesburg Stock Exchange for it, because this is the sister continent. The development and success of the continent is also going to be the success of the South African Stock Exchange. So at a formal level, there is this MOU that I've spoken about, which we signed together with other BRICS Stock Exchanges. Practically, in the continent, we are part of a currently 7-member stock exchanges that launched last year what is called the Africa Linkages Exchanges Program. That project is funded by the African Development Bank. Really what it seeks to do is to connect the 7 exchanges so that an investor sitting, let's say, in Nigeria is able to invest in Johannesburg without having to set up shop here in Johannesburg to access our capital market. Likewise, if you're an investor sitting here in Johannesburg, you can access Casablanca, Nairobi, you can access Egypt without having to set shop there. So that's the second major piece to this one. Lastly, what I would like to touch on is the importance of Sino-Africa relationships. As you know, I single out of the BRICS China because of the heft it brings to the table. It is the second largest global economy as we speak today. Therefore, at a diplomatic level, economic level, it is important that those channels are strengthened. And as the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, we have an MOU with the Bank of China to ensure that we are able to leverage that relationship. And we do that not just for ourselves, for the benefit of the continent as well.
And Langa, before I let you go, one of the biggest issues that SMEs and business owners talk about is just how slow moving from securing financing to actually the project being implemented and getting off the ground. Is the industry working around that to ensure that projects actually get off the ground a lot faster in that financing process?
Absolutely. I think without speaking for the president, but if you hear in the South African context, the president talks about Operation Phakisa, Operation Vulindlela. These are initiatives at government level aimed at unlocking the bottlenecks. For example, you know the challenges we are facing around logistics. Captains of industry have come together to work with government to make sure that those can be addressed. Now, that is just in terms of facilitating cross-border trades to enable the implementation of the Africa Free Trade Agreement, of which we are signatory to, and we have ratified it. On the other side, at a micro scale, it's really to understand that each and every business is different. The SME development program that I spoke about practically works with an entrepreneur, hand-holding them to ensure that they are investor-ready, to ensure that they have prepared the deal tickets that is required by the investor. They tick all the right box. We bring in our expertise from market regulation point of view, crowd in other partners in the industry to help with that. We shorten that time to market to execute. But it depends on which industry. Certain industries are subject to regulation.
Yeah.
You may need environmental impact assessment, approvals, and so on. There, the local municipalities, provincial governments have a critical role to play. And all of these key moving parts, we make sure that we interact with all of the stakeholders in the market to drive that collaboration.
Langa, thank you so much for talking to us. Of course, that's Langa, who is the head of equities and equity derivatives at the JSE, giving us those insights on the bourse actually channeling capital towards SMEs and the township economies. A lot more developments to come from the Sandton Convention Center as the BRICS Summit continues. For now, it's back to you in studio, Xoli.
Thank you very much. That's Ntokozo Khumalo, our business reporter there.